Great. So welcome to our in-person Back Porch Poetry Playhouse reading with our very special guests, the CORAZÓN Collective. We are live from our backyard patio in Placitas. And for our audience, we're just going to have a quick little preview. We've got a live audience back here with our poets. So we're really excited for that. And you're going to hear all five of our distinguished poets coming from Texas. And I'll let them, I've got intros, but I'm going to, since we're kind of doing this as a group, I'll just say the order that we're reading and a brief introduction, and I'll let them say whatever they like as well. And they also have books, which is on our website, and we'll be doing that. So the CORAZÓN Collective is 5 poets, each very distinguished themselves, and maybe one of them can tell us a little bit about how they started this group. But we're going to be starting the reading with Jo Reyes-Boitel. She's a poet and playwright, now working on their MFA in creative writing at the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. And then will be our virtual reader, Carmen Calatayud, who is a poet and a nonfiction writer. And she was runner-up for the Academy of American Poets Walt Whitman Award and an Andrés Montoya Poetry Prize finalist. Carmen has dedicated her time to the immigrant rights movement through poetry and activism, and works as a trauma therapist to assist people on their healing journeys. And then third, we will have Jen Yáñez-Alaniz, Chicana Mestiza activist, educator, scholar, and poet. She is a PhD fellow in culture, literacy, and language department of bilingual bicultural studies at the University of Texas, San Antonio. And after that, we will be having Angelina Sanez, and forgive me, I know I'm not pronouncing your names correctly here. So, and she's an award-winning educator and poet whose work focuses on memory, mujeres, and motherhood. She is an UCLA Writing Project Fellow and alumni of the Vona Voices Workshop for Writers of Color and Moncando Writers Workshop Fellow. And of course, we'll be following up, ending with a Reina Lara Silva, who is the newly appointed Texas State Poet Laureate. So pleased to have her here. She's the author of 4 poetry collections, 2 chapbooks, a short story collection, and she and poet Dan Vera are also the co-editors of Imani Man, Poets Writing in the Anzandalian Borderlands. And she was awarded the 2021 Texas Institute of Letters for best short nonfiction, currently a writer at large for Texas Highways magazine, and is working on a second collection of short stories. So thank you all for coming. I am going to pass the laptop to our first reader. There you go. Thank you. All right. I'm going to try to keep an eye on this, but this will just mute, but I want you to focus on reading. So
You're fine. Thank you. Hi, everyone, in person and online. It's more odd than I thought it would feel. I feel like I'm divided. But I'm still so glad to be here and so glad to be on this journey with some really wonderful friends, and even Carmen, who can't be with us but is still with us. So I want to start with a short poem about my well, for my aunt who was seriously ill a number of years ago. And so I wrote this piece for her because she's probably the only one in our family who's incredibly kind, and all the rest are really kind of scoundrels. So she's incredibly kind, and I wrote this for her when she was not feeling well. Cartography. Hills flecked with fall foliage, its curves cascade to rocky valley. Cavernous swells of the river carves an expedition of water into waterfall. You are full-hearted, extra-chambered. You draft this map for me. Point out areas of damage by grass fire or invaders. Your voice solid when you say, here is where I'm tender. There are offshoots of rich greens even this far in. Others would have kept me to safe passages, tree-lined fencing. This is my heart, you say. This is yours. And my mom always says that I tell people off in such a way that they don't know that they're told off until after I've left the room, which is probably safest. So this is a reminder of like one way to kind of tell someone off if you feel you need to. It's called tumbling. More than 100 muscles from lungs to lips must unite to pull words from our minds, give each letter its own spirit. Think of that cadence, like frogs in song on cool spring evenings, a search for the one who needs that very song vibrating in our mouths. Think of that struggle in living within another's rhythm, of pulling meter, turning it on its head, creating a new frequency of sound, the work required in crafting intent within each combination. The next time you say something without promise. I'm going to go ahead and be administrative and admit someone who's just come in. Apparently, I don't know how. There, did it. Yay. I feel accomplished. We have about 10 to 12 minutes each, so I'm just going to read 2 more pieces. This one is it's based on a dream I had about Gloria Anzaldúa, who is a borderland theorist, poet, writer, beautiful queer woman who spoke when very few were speaking for the Valley and for that kind of and for any kind of spaces where we were othered. So it's called Chrysanthemums, an elegy for Gloria Anzaldúa. Tell me the truth. Tell me the world has ended in a burst, petals blown away from a flower's nearly imperceptible eye. Filmy scales, the fish's skin flecking along billowed cheeks like stars unraveling, churning from center to surface. Dark matter, heavy iron, molten, mirrored hematite, then cooling mica, iridescent and falling away into translucent sheets. Purples and greens rain down, oceanic salt living in these bodies. They say we are built of stardust. I want to believe some part of us took a breath before we were this, and that this breath continues after us. I want to believe we are here, have left, and will return. Not enough to say you were beautiful in those dark rooms. I dream you in softness. Slip shoes, ivory silk, and forest green sweater, its large collar framing your tender face. I feel like an intruder to your nighttime sky, watching you while you choose your jewelry. Turn your palms back and forth to judge the weight and brilliance. I approach, find pearls and yellow gold across your fingers. Kiss your palms. They are delicate birds in the air, light surrounding you. You watch my eyes follow you, then pull at still warm amber until it glistens, while you promise to embrace me within its walls. And then this piece is a little longer, but I hope you'll sit with me through it. It's my daughter's birthday today, and I'm immensely proud of her, even if I am immensely angry or upset with her half the time, because that's the parent-child relationship sometimes. but her name is Deli Micaela Reyes, and she's living the life we should all live, which is the one we choose. So, and this is when right when COVID started, and she had to return home because schools all closed, and so we were struggling with independence, both of us. It's called Familiar. We are each called in our own way. My child, mine like a countryside, was born on a misty summer evening, sun long gone by the time she was truly in my arms. Small thumps along the window pane, flickers in the humid light, lightning bugs mark a welcome path for her, glimmer to illuminate her eyes, even in the darkest times, my child protected. We have been out. It's mid-August and there is no getting away from this heat. The air is damp against our skin, but our throats are dry. We need water. When the cool inside air rushes us, we are breathless. The air conditioner shakes this old house, visits each room with its concentric calls, moves through our bodies too, echoes in the water resting in our glasses. There are moments when we forget we are part of each other, when we forget we are part of the larger world too. We forget even the trees talk to each other, protect each other without a word. As a child, I would sit on just rained walkways, knees up, arms hugging my shins. Sometimes I waited full minutes for a trail of ants to link back and forth, sharing gossip, or watch a baby frog jump across. Perhaps I thought of myself as their caretaker, perhaps just a witness who could say, yes, they did pass here on a cool afternoon, just after the light rain. I remember telling her, our bodies are riddled with stars, that the viscous within her is a concoction, cool and dark, of life's insistence. And so she doesn't need to struggle for so much because the journey here has been made for her. All she has to do is breathe and the galaxies circle again. Small winged creatures find me. They sit on my morning papers, walk across the dusty windshield for attention. Nameless beauties come to rest on my shoulder or palm. Same with this child I had the joy to have raised, how each has their movement on this land that becomes the curve and sway of their singular language. How I have learned to let their voices move through me, how each has changed me. Porch light is out. The sun long gone, an hour or more. Chicharas congregate beneath streetlights. Curious how, in hearing them, I realize how much I've missed their metallic howls. Across the lawn, the echoing waves roll from one side to the other. And there's a rumble too of a train, its belly lumbering, still at a distance but closing in. The tick, tick, tick of wheels turning at the edges of the lawn, a congregation of frogs. Their green-black skins a mirror to the stars unfolding in this new light. Have they learned to sing yet? Or do they still need to find their reason for song? Such perfection in what is young. Take, for instance, my daughter at the back of the house. Her skin like unfolding flowers, her voice barely a whisper, but she reels through me like that train. When she hurts, the center of me aches, though it's been years since she lived in my body, long enough that my body is new again 3 times over. Together here, we become a study in geometry. The frogs angle toward their home of grass and loamy soil, just beneath the mailbox. The train long gone, shifting at the horizon. The chorus of chicharas weakening. The whole house is in darkness, save for the rolling laughter from the back room. My daughter talking on the phone with friends. She too, a small glossy being, otherworldly, in the diffused light of evening into night. Thank you so much.
Then
we bring Carmen through.
Then we're doing Carmen, right?
And Jules, can you check if there's anyone waiting to get in?
I let one person in.
Oh, good, okay.
Sorry, gotta grab a water.
Replace, okay.
If not water, Carmen.
So,
You want to turn it that way so they can see her?
yes, so no, so go ahead, Carmen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Hi, everyone. I'm really pleased to be able to zoom in with the CORAZÓN Collective and to be with you in Placitas this evening. I'm going to start with a poem that's based in DC, which is where I'm from. And this poem hopefully pays honor to Vietnam War vets, and some of you may remember the POW MIA bracelets that we used to wear to honor those who were lost. So this is at the Vietnam Memorial Wall in DC, and this poem is called Bracelet. Marilyn Monroe tried to kiss me like a bride smiling at the altar when I drove past her mural at the liquor store, but I wouldn't have it. I was scared, so I turned around and drove to the Lincoln Memorial. It was night and the lights were on, so I thought I'd get inspired and remember why I was born. I walked to the wall and looked up the guy on the MIA bracelet I lost as a kid, and Major James Jefferson, he's still missing, and I'm bawling at the wall. So I talked to the vet who's selling bracelets, and I'm his only customer. And I hear this dried out agony from inside his round chest that could talk all night about a jungle he never should have seen. He says he was so scared in '69 that his knees jumped up and down off the floor, and that he can't explain it. It was this gut-awful fear you get when you know someone wants to kill you. I want to die with him and come back to life in Illinois in 3010 and grow some corn and ring the bells and not worry about disturbing the peace. I get wet on the way to my car with John Rodriguez on my wrist. And I tell John I'm going to take him away from this place so he won't have to die in this city, and I won't have to die strange. This next poem, a little bit shorter, and this is based in Mexico. It's called Tale from Chiapas. In this country, we count the trees, then count again. We lift the streets by mixing paint. 9 guardians live upstairs, and we sing with them. There's a slit in the sky, and we reach through to pull down the sun. We weave blue-green patterns as we have dreamed them. At times, tricky spirits swallow our eyes. They bring bad news like the black moths. We open the coffin, smell el alma during the wind. We wait for angels in the cave. Little stones line the path that measures nothing. Trotting donkeys knock on doors to whisper the tale. This voice is our constant companion. We point to the northern sky before sleep smokes our lips. Fig trees spin into ash, and we wash our soil with milk. Just gonna read 2 more. This poem is a poem about addiction, and it's called Godmother. There's a woman on her front porch, inhaling her cigarette. She's in love with the slender white stick between her fingers. My fingers pretend to play piano while tapping my left arm. Blue-green vein rises, and I stroke it like a purring cat. It's been 4 weeks, heroine, and I need you to feel nothing. There is so much I want to tell you. I want to thank you for being my godmother. for taking me to the church where God doesn't care and we don't pretend he does. Truth blooms in a way a moon girl can understand. Truth being, there is no me. Just velvet junk afterglow that streams from stars into my arm. On the sidewalk in front of my feet, a gray feather just landed. The woman lights another cigarette. The smoke smells like her name, Dulce. I pick up the feather and put its point to my vein, dream of burnt caramel streaming in, lips smack from fast joy. The sweet blur gone too quick. Wish alchemy alone could blow my heart open, fill it with lips to kiss all the losses, kill the desire for Godmother's hug. And I'll just finish with one short love poem. Also, this one based in Mexico. A day in the Mayan calendar. We stand at the ruins to breathe Yucatan air. With this flower, we wed and you sweat. Your glow, my tears, change our course. I will love you for 20,000 years. You will love me until jaguars rule the earth. Thank you so much.
That's
Okay, there you go.
a little unnerving.
Like this?
Yeah, that's okay.
You're good.
You look beautiful.
If anybody comes in, you can make them.
Okay. So I'm going to start by reading an excerpt from a poem that I wrote that was part of my my language story. And I deciding to read this in particular because we were at a reading, and after the reading, someone wanted to know why we didn't read in Spanish. So I'm going to go ahead and read this, and I'm going to say a little bit more about that. I questioned the words. I apologize. I am silent. I question words I am told not to say. Words not spoken in English. I question the words of my mother, the prayers, the lullabies, consejos. I question the songs of my father, the songs he sings at weddings, at quinceañera celebrations, even the music he composes with accordion y guitarra, have a language I am told to abandon. At school, we are shamed and ridiculed for our accents, as Spanish loses its home on our tongues. We no longer hold words for spaces of comfort, for tradition, for things and people we love. Corridos, hermanitos, madrinas, abuelos, tía Lucía cocinando calabacita con pollo y fideo. Our mothers feel the sting of rejection as accents disappear, as we move on toward becoming other. Children with different ondas, children navigating new identities, new names, children told to abandon language and cultura, children who will grow up and eventually find their way back home. And I find this particularly important, an important piece because this is my story. This is what happened to me in school. And over 50 years later, I've come full circle where now this is my job to be an educator of educators, to make sure that teachers are being inclusive of children's cultural identities, including language. This is a very special piece for me. So the next piece I will read is for my little girl. She's 24 years old. And she called me, this is the longest time I've been away from her in a while. And she called me, needing a little bit of advice. But I wrote this at the beginning of the pandemic when she had her first breakup. Pandemic smoke, space song. Heart coiled muscle, fist below my sternum, knotted ache holds me captive within the hours. My breathing slows. She's 21 and feeling first love breakup. Tells me she doesn't want fixing. She wants to know it. So we get high and listen to space song. We talk boys among the dusty mist of pandemic smoke. She tells me about an app where loneliness brings together poets and musicians. From Australia, someone serenades her sadness in Spain. Another sketches a poem in the shape of her eyes. A distant love ascends from below deep-carved sarcophagus, a worldliness of royalty and worship, to kiss her. My daughter and I touch fingers, releasing ourselves to the cosmos. She cries from a time within her skin when we were sisters. And so I'm going to read a few poems from my manuscript. And while we're taking pre-orders today, the book will actually be at home when I get there. And it's called Surrogate Eater. And this collection of poetry actually speaks to a transformation of body and voice. Just trying to find that voice and trying to feed that hunger, be it food or be it any other kind of desire. Patron saint of moist things. I must be a mermaid. I have no fear of depth and great fear of shallow living. Anais me. When I pray for love, I imagine our youth and Anais me. Her wet verses underneath our tongues, her sex an unguent between our bodies. My tempered knees tender and buckling at your waist, seeking salve and chrism. In my surrender, in my memory, you untie the blue ribbon from around my thigh, your teeth releasing the knot. My openness tastes of fig and tamarind, glistened cadence on the tongue. I don't know you without the warm sun, without summer's rain arced above our bodies, without the milk-like sky anointing us with grace. I long for your witness to my sanctity. I long for your witness to my breasts, swollen like a sea of darkness. Surrogate eater. On our days out running, I pace your stride across the asphalt, your hips and thighs thin and lithe. Mine yearns to mirror your body. Yours refuses fat so naturally. The rhythm of our breaths synchronized, we gleam as glaring candles, virgencitas kept as prayers, lit on sills at our mother's windows. Now you sit close to me. Your thigh touches mine, your skin an offering of comfort, familiar and burning between us. We lift our t-shirts, laugh at skin pulled taut over muscle. I fill myself with water meant to stave off hunger. I love the rimming of your lips around that spoon of mounded ice cream I deny myself to eat. The sweetness of your breath invites my tongue to lap the taste of sugar, lingering on yours. Let's read 2 more poems. What exists beyond the body in Utopia, Texas? Spirit calls as bird song in meadow, a quiet dip among high grasses, deep within the Sabinal Basin. The flowers are yellow. Dragonflies spin in place, spinning nectar. The sun is gentle. 30 miles south in Dehanis, Texas, grandmother's 17. The photographer tucks an Esperanza the color gold behind her left ear. Her hair is braided, framing the stern expression she holds. She's beautiful in her survival. A butterfly wanders near and lands on my palm. I might have skipped a line. There's a fly trying to get up my nose. Trying to get up my nose.
Fly as entered.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and read My Body at the Table and then one short poem.
It's all there talk about sugar.
That's right.
Attracted it.
That's right. A stream of hot water, a night for a singe, a smudging of skin. I bite down on the sweet taste of fire. Fingers clutch in pleading supplication. The stream leaves streaks down my stomach, scarlet sashes ribbon down my legs. Soothe across the scars on my knees, ancient burial grounds of unanswered prayers. I lay across the floor, limbs limp and splayed, my skin a soft linen. A rose arches from the center of my body, each lover at the tips of my fingers. I breathe shallow breaths of ache, breasts rise toward God. Sweet contrition, sweet contrition. I rest in the charity of my sin, relief from the pain, pink pills in a cup. My lovers, they reach, each takes from the flesh, my body at the table. And then last one. The thing about love, it keeps the shape of you in my mouth, creases my unforgiving tongue. Your sex swelters inside, penetrates the cartilage, seething in my throat. Thank you.
Sure, that's okay. The music stand. Must make use of the music stand. Somebody must use it. So
Somebody.
do you want the laptop on the music stand? I guess so.
Yeah. we'll put it right on.
Okay, I'll move this. Yeah. This way.
Okay. You want the pen underneath the?
I'll get that on. All right.
Dun,
Great,
dun,
then we can see you a
dun.
little
Oh,
better.
I can see how my hair is
All
a little out of control. Okay,
right.
let me keep my time. Buenas tardes. So my name is Angelina Saenz. I'm from LA, California. I'm so happy to be here. This is my book, Edgecliff, and there are poems on that bookend. My poems about my adult life are parts 1 and 3, and then in the middle are poems about my childhood. Okay. Shit Show Wednesday. Monday, just a few feet from Nordstrom Rack entrance, a Calvin Klein white pantsuit in double X size. How unusual. It's a sign we will win. Tuesday, it's wear a white fucking pantsuit day. Colleagues say, are you getting married at lunchtime? And I look like Helen White, otherwise I would have joined you. Election results party at my house. Festive spirals to confused panic. Blurry of text messages begin. I leave my guests to walk the dogs. A usually loud and busy street is deserted. Television glows light the sidewalk. The impossible mocks my heart. I decide to sleep with the boys. My son asks in the dark, can he really be president, Mama? I pull him in closer. Their sleeping breath holds vigil. Wednesday, 3 a.m. Screenshot headline, pigs freeze and hell flies. I get up, recite chapters 2 and 16 of the Lotus Sutra, toast waffles, fold burritos, throw in a load of laundry, print 24 narrative reports, 10 parent conferences ahead of me, first one, 7 a.m. The parent and I cry for 5 minutes, and then we discuss her 5-year-old's progress. Teaching partner says, it's an art day today, color outside the lines. A parent in the hallway at Day of Dead display turns to me with swollen red eyes. We embrace. School is shelter. I'm taking in the wounded. Get home at 5 p.m. The boys are with their dad. I crawl into bed and sleep until tomorrow. Thursday, level 5 hurricane of information. Some are stunned. The smartasses knew. I'm at the dog park by 2 p.m. Autumn sun warms me. People all around me. I am alone. Friday, who to blame? Racist white folks, white women, third-party voters, non-voters, neoliberals, Democratic Party, the media, intellectuals, the elite, Russia, red states, blue states, Canada, voting laws, the Electoral College, Hillary, Donald, the burn, karma, neglect, misogynist, the disconnect, Mark Zuckerberg, our unwillingness to see and know. Saturday, the same elder who called during Katrina and said, New Orleans is the bottom of a slave ship right now, calls again. Who votes for a man that supports waterboarding? Look, did they miss the kindergarten lesson? You don't vote for a bully, not for student government, and not for President of the United States. The phone is on speaker while I cook fish sticks and mac and cheese. The boys wait for me to binge watch Stranger Things. Sunday, constipated since Wednesday, I finally take a shit. Norma in pink sweats. I stand at the plate glass window on the corner of Sunset and Maltman. I watch bubbles bounce in deep fryer as pale donut dough turns golden. You and trays of glistening glaze wave us in. As big as a trailer home, soft freckled face framed by long brown hair, always pulled tight into a ponytail. You didn't fit between the counter and the wall, so you'd shuffle sideways to take our order. Have some milk. Don't drink a suicide before school. And don't put Pop Rocks in your drink. You'll choke. Gripping the counter with one hand, scooping up ice with the other, you punched our cup into every flavor of soda. You'd serve it to us with a chocolate twist or maple bar. Green leather ledger kept our little names in perfect penmanship, and under our names, the amount of everything we consumed. On the 14th and the last day of the month, you'd give us a paper for our mother that showed what we owed. She always paid. Thank you. Sometimes that was all we had to eat. The day you got to the bottom of the hill at Lucille and Marcia and didn't break, crashing straight into Rod and Helen's living room, my soul left my body again. 1 DUI under your belt already, attending AA meetings twice a month. Your drunk ass convinced them not to call the cops. They claimed it as a hit and run. And those nice liberal white folks who always took us to no war in Central America marches, who kept us off the streets by inviting us to work at their tiny theater on Melrose and Heliotrope, paying us in dinners eaten in their living room that opened up to the most beautiful wild garden. They helped you out that day. For the next few months, every time I passed by the construction, I hated you, Mom. Most of the women I know were molested by the time they were in 5th grade. None of the men strangers, all of them neighbors, fathers, uncles, brothers, cousins, friends. Where were our mothers? They knew and blamed us, or didn't know and still blamed us, or they didn't know and said that it happened to them too, so get over it. Or what were we doing there anyway? Not one mujer has told me that their mother stood up for them and confronted or banished perpetrators. True and sad story. Events are always the same. Quick snatch in a crowded or empty room, wounding shame that follows, decimates. Scar tissue tightens across motherhood, our careers, our relationships. Look at us, grown-ass women in our 40s, coffee mugs in our hands, at our kitchen table, crying about the time that man touched us. I come from a place where all we knew was to be ghetto fabulous and together. Before you start taking out your pinche black and white photos of your tatarabuelo de Francia con sus ojos verdes and your bisabuela Eugenia from the Tarahumara tribe. No, I don't have a single goddamn picture to show you of my ancestors. Before you pull out your map showing me where Fulano boarded his boat in the Bay of Biscay, arriving in your mother's hometown in Zacatecas, or the pueblo that 4 generations of your gente were born into. Know that my mother was born in the Nayarit jungle to my 14-year-old grandmother, and no one can say who the father is, and that I may not even be a Padilla, porque mi bisabuela era puta, and there is no judgment there. Before you tell me of caps and gowns, cheerleaders and jocks, and that you were voted most likely to succeed, no, I come from a place of flunking fools, 0.0 grade point averages. Before you share your tips about the bands playing in Echo Park, or the best ramen in Silver Lake, or how Hollywood is now called the East Side, no, my people's blood pooled on your corners as men masturbated in their cars on Sunset, and my mother lay face down, intoxicated on the Lucille midnight sidewalk. Thank you.
Let Angelina get comfy. We're good, just maybe tilted right there.
So I just wanted to say that, the Corazón Collective is really happy to be here. Thank you so much for hosting this. Thank you for such a beautiful setting. This is beautiful. And yeah, we've been having an adventure I guess we're about midway through our 10-day journey. And it's been beautiful. So I'm going to read a few poems for y'all. Let me see. The first is from my second book, Blood Sugar Canto, which I wrote because I realized that I needed poems about diabetes and couldn't find any anywhere. And the reason I needed them was because I make sense out of everything in life through poetry. No matter what I write, if I write prose, if I write articles, if I write essays, it doesn't matter. I make sense of it through poetry. And I always have what I call a heart poem in a book. And it's that it's not until you write the heart poem that you know that you can write the rest of the book. And actually, when I was writing this, I told my brother what I was going to do, and he didn't quite believe that I was going to do it because it was, facing down a lot of fear. We was talking about diabetes, not just me personally, but in my family, in my communities, dealing with doctors and the healthcare system and everything else. But the heart poem for this book is called En Trozos and Pieces. And what started it was that my father was incredibly terrified of amputation. But it was odd because my dad's people all died of cancer and my mother's people all died of diabetic complications. But my parents switched destinies and my dad died of diabetic complications and my mother of cancer. En trozos, in pieces. I never met my mother's mother. Concepcion Ligues Lara died the year before I was born. My father told stories about rushing her to the doctor to have her black flesh toe, amputated. My mother never said anything, never said how she died, never described her illness. The last time I saw my tia Lupe, it was my mother's funeral. My tia died 2 years later. I remember her strong, graceful, lifting herself out of the car into the wheelchair, survivor of amputation, toes, feet, legs. They'd begun on her fingers. I remember her fierce expression. My father had been diabetic for 6 years. The only time I ever saw him cry was after the doctor told him it was likely they would have to amputate his feet. He turned his face to the pillow, body convulsing with broken sobs. He healed, kept his feet for another 18 years. After 4 years of silence, I called when I heard he'd lost one foot. Neither of us spoke of it. We spoke of living and of pain, of dying and the end of fear. We said goodbye. We knew we would not speak again. Later, I learned they also amputated his other foot. What he feared most was to go in pieces. Now I fear it too. Strange days, terror when I see the crutch, the walker, the wheelchair, the power scooters. Terror when I see the missing foot, the missing limb, strangers on the bus and at the store and at work and on the street, anywhere, everywhere, terror. Yes, limbs are lost every day to war, in car accidents, at work, to freezing temperatures, to violence. But this is the terror of being devoured. One limb not being enough to satiate the beast. This is the terror of going piece by piece. Would I be strong enough to follow my tia Lupe's example? Would I want to? Could I see myself go in pieces? I think I would choose to live, but I don't know. There is a prayer I cannot help. Diosito, grant me 75 years of life to do my work. Please, I want to stay whole and strong, able to walk. I know this is selfish. I have already been given more than others, more life, more strength, more freedom, more health, more love, more time. But I can't help wanting more. Sometimes I hold my feet, my calves in my hands, stare at my fingers. I cannot comprehend my body without them. Oh body, cuerpecito mío, how many years I wasted not loving you, judging you for what they said you lacked, for what you were too much of. Too big, too dark, too fat, too short, too India, too masculine, not pretty enough, not feminine enough, not worthy of love. What does any of that matter now? Oh body, cuerpecito mío, I will never see you through their eyes again, only through mine, praising your strength and your beauty, the life I've lived through you, your joy and your endurance, your hunger and your light. I will learn to take care of you as I have learned to love you. No terror, only love.
Wow.
And this last poem, I just love reading because I love reading it. There will be singing in the morning and singing in the night, singing in the days of want and singing in the days of plenty, singing alone and singing with ghosts, singing old songs and singing new songs. We will remember songs we haven't heard yet, songs that haven't been dreamt yet, songs no one has found the words for. Songs sung on the road and songs sung in bed, songs sung while weeping and songs sung while waiting, songs for breath and sun and light and moon and earth and water, songs for sustenance. We will sing impossible songs, indecipherable songs, songs that cannot be heard and songs that cannot be shared. We will sing songs without words, silent songs and screaming songs, songs that tremble and songs we can embrace. Song and I live in each other's skins. Song and I breathe each other's breath, take refuge in each other. Taking wing, song and I spiraling in the sky. I would like to die singing. Let there be song in my throat spilling out. Let my last breath be song.
Wow.
This book, Cuicacali, came out before the pandemic, and it was a gift of a book. I tell people the first, 3-4 books that I wrote, I cried the entire time, and they all took years and years. This book somehow only took a few months. And I remember just being really joyous while writing it, even though some of the poems are sad or angry or whatever they may be. But the first poem came to me because I was in Austin and I was taking the bus to work. And the one thing that I loved about going to work downtown was that I crossed the river every day twice. And I love the river in Austin. I think it's so beautiful. But I was passing it and I was thinking how much I loved it. And then it reminded me, I grew up in the Rio Grande Valley. It made me think of the Rio Grande River. And so then I wrote this poem. You love a river. For 20 years, you love a river. And every time you cross it or sit to stare at it, you imagine your suddenly immense hands brushing over its calm ripples, as if it was fur, as if it was skin, as if it could touch you back, as if it also loved you, as if it had waited for you always, this peaceful, uncontested river, always serene, so different from that other river, the river that has defined your entire life. The river you love is far, but not that far from that other river. That other river sometimes muddy, sometimes dry, sometimes green, sometimes lovely. But you can never think of it without seeing almost 2 centuries of blood shed over it. Can never see it without thinking of the lives, the pain, the hurt, the losses crossing that river has cost. You have always loved rivers, but is it still a river if it has walls? I think one more. So I've just completed a manuscript that'll be coming out in January, called The Eaters of Flowers, which I finished 6 months after my brother passed. And I found myself not quite knowing how to live. Here we go. I was thinking about this one the other day. Lot K32. It's roughly 3 feet by 7 feet. There are no lines to separate one lot from another. Wild grass, wild flowers, a few small stones, spillover of red-brown mulch from the lot next to it. It's quiet here. The traffic is a far-off sound, even though the road isn't far. It's all the trees, mostly oaks, pecans, cottonwoods, cedars. It doesn't seem to matter what time of the year it is. There are always butterflies, birds darting from place to place, green leaves on the trees, and golden leaves fluttering down. My brother is buried in lot K31. We bought both plots at the same time. I didn't know his would be vacant for such a very short time. I wonder if he knew different. Wonder if he held on to make sure I had a signed contract in hand. He was buried the way he wanted, on a wooden pallet, wrapped in a cotton shroud, surrounded with flowers from head to foot. A bouquet laid over his chest, no coffin, no concrete, no embalming, no separation from the earth. Before the year is out, it'll be 5 months since he was buried. I don't think it's my imagination, but the burial mound seems to be as high as it ever was. The only thing that's different is a permanent flat stone that bears his name and the date of his life and my name for him. When I visit, I take a little stepladder to sit on. I unfold it over lot K32 because it seems disrespectful to sit elsewhere and possibly intrude on someone else's grave. At least here I know it's vacant, and I hope to leave it vacant for at least another 3 decades, letting the leaves flutter down and the wild grass grow. I took care of him for all but 7 years of his life. In the afterlife, there will be no need to look after each other. His spirit in the unfurling of all green things and the dew is free of all pain and memory, and mine will return to the wind, as free as it ever dreamed of being. But here, beneath this earth, we will never leave each other. We will be siblings of the soil. There was one somebody asked me for the other day, and I thought it was Angelina's poem. It turned out it was my poem. But the poems are so new that I don't know the titles yet.
My mother would say.
Yes, and I don't know where it is. I think I found it on 50. No, that's not right. That was on the other manuscript. So I'm going to read this. But apparently this manuscript has a lot of, my mother would say, the curandera would say, the hospice nurse said, my brother said, there's all these things that people said. Let me see where it is. And if I can't find it, then it means I'm not meant to read it. All right, let's open. Here we go. Another song about, another poem about singing. All right, so you have to look for the other one. This will be my last one. Silence is the breath between songs. Singing is inviting all the ghosts, all of my dead to sing, and in my voice, their voice, and in my voice, all the songs I have loved, and all the times my heart thrilled and sank and soared, and in my voice, all the voices that have or ever will sing with me, and the singing, all my lost loves, all my broken hearts, all the far-flung shattered pieces of my soul, all the sharp edges lined in red, all the times I wept, and all the times I laughed, and all the times I prayed, and all the times I gave thanks, in the singing, everything I have ever held precious, and all the times I fought, and everything I kept quiet, and everything I didn't, and in the singing, never one voice, in the singing of all the voices I have ever sung, with all the voices that have sung with me, and in the singing, there is no time, no differentiation of then or now or future, no differentiation of here or there or living or dead. In the singing, neither love nor heartbreak ever forget themselves, and a single phrase lingers through decades, never diminishing. In the singing, voices that braid themselves through a life, and I will hear singing on my last day, even if I am silent. Thank you.
And we have the audience. Yay. So let's excuse me. Let's give one more round of applause. And if you want to talk a little bit about where you'll be next at the National Hispanic Cultural Center.
So today is Tuesday. On Thursday, 6 p.m., there's a reception at the National Hispanic Cultural Center in Albuquerque, where we will all be reading. On a Friday night at 7. Perdón?
But not the same.
But not the same poems, different poems. Or maybe not. I don't know. You have to find out. It's a surprise. And then 7 p.m. in Santa Fe at the Museo Cultural. And then Saturday from 10 to 1:30, we are offering a 4-person guided writing workshop. And National Hispanic Cultural Center is providing lunch. And we will have books at all of these events. You can also check out our website, corazoncollective.org. And for the people that are here live, we have books over there. Yes.
Mhm. And the people that are on Zoom, we have the links to your books
Perfect. Yes,
too, or you can order them from your local independent bookstore.
exactly.
Mhm.
Thank you so much.
So we're going to move on to the open mic. And the sun is right in my eyes right about now. Well, thank you, everybody. I know I haven't been paying attention in the chat and knowing what's going on online here, but we do appreciate you and your being our audience. I'm going to stop the recording.